my own biological father, I never called him dad. And I was always anxious, always had a knot in my stomach, and if I had to interact with them or I went to interact with them to ask them a question, I would do it in a way where I didn't have to get their attention. I wouldn't have to call them by mom or dad, because my biggest fear was, and as I got older, it became a stupid thought that I was that my thoughts were that ridiculous. But I thought if I called them mom or dad, one of them would turn around and go, "Don't ever call me that again." I mean, I was 100% convinced of it. So when I say I went years, I went early elementary school till probably 17, 18 years old and never called them mom or dad once.
I think we were, let's see, we were in, going into fifth grade. I remember we had just started fifth grade. I think we were like maybe 2 weeks into school. And because it was still summertime, you know, it was still hot. And like I said, we had a huge yard. So Jason and I would have to mow. We'd have to use a push mower and mow the whole yard. And back then we had big, heavy metal gas cans, you know, and they had the metal spouts on them, funnels on them, and we were trying to put gas into the mower, and you just get gas everywhere, and you get it all over you, and you're sweating. And so we mowed the yard. Dad made sure, hey, you're staying home today. You don't have to go to work with me. You're mowing the yard. So we mowed that whole yard that weekend or that day, and on that Friday after school, and we get done and we're happy about it. We go inside and we just got done, and we walked in the house, and Mom had just gotten home, and we're standing there, and she walks up to us and says, she goes, "I smell gas." And we're like, "Yeah, we were mowing the yard." And she goes, "Have you been sniffing gas?" And I'm thinking, I was like in fifth grade, and I was like, sniffing gas? Of course I sniff the gas. You can smell it from when you pour the gas. You know, that's what I'm thinking. And she goes, "You know, are you getting high?" And I was like, "What is high?" I didn't even know what high was back then, you know, in fifth grade. And she just gets mad. I mean, she just was not happy. I don't know. That's all I remember about it. And then she left. She grabbed all my brothers and sisters, which had happened a couple of times before, and she went to my grandparents' house. And then Dad came home later, and I remember back then, you know, we didn't have cell phones, but he had a mobile phone in his truck, and I'm sure she called him. And he showed up, and he looked pale. You know.
It was weird around the house, just me and Sean and Dad. I mean, we're used to having, you know, 4 brothers and sisters at this time hanging out. So with just us three in there, it was odd. And Dad handled it a lot different this time. He came home from work, and we jumped in the truck, and usually he was one that when he came home from work, he was done for the day. You didn't see him get back in his truck and going anywhere. But he wanted to go somewhere. We just ended up driving around, and he kind of asked us what we thought about trying to go to a home school, however he said it. I don't remember what his exact word, you know, what he called it at the time, but he said, "Oh, a ranch," I think is what he said. He was like, "They have horses." He's really building it up, and it's like, I'm not a big horse fan. I wasn't gonna tell him no. I was like, "Yeah, sure, give it a shot," you know. I just didn't argue with him a lot, you know. There was never, very seldom did we ever talk back to him, fight with him.
He was doing doing his thing, and then it was next morning was Saturday morning. Mom didn't come home. She stayed at her parents' house, and next morning he got up and he told us, he goes, "Pack of bags." He goes, "I need y'all to pack a couple of bags," and we packed a bunch of clothes and stuff, and we thought, hey, we're going to Grandma's again. So anyway, we get in the truck, and I remember we're driving, and he finally told us, because we weren't going down I-35 to Texas, we were taking another road, and he told us he was taking us to this place down south, and we're gonna live there for a little while. So we pull up at this boys' home, and he dropped us off, and you know, we went in and met everybody, and that was kind of the final straw. There were some other times, you know, we um, sometimes it just wore on you a little bit, being there, not knowing where you're going to be, like when am I going to leave here? Holidays were hard. We would go home for holidays, but that was even hard. You're excited about getting to go see everyone, but then you're just, as soon as you get to the house, you're counting down the days that you have to go back. And then you hear from the whole family all this stuff they've got going on and what they're doing, and oh, they're going on vacation, or they're, this is going on, and you're just there visiting, your family, and then the drive back, and the drive back was always hard. I remember, and your dad might not admit this, but I remember we would fight. We would fight for the because it was just a single cab pickup that Dad had. So one of us had to sit in the middle, one of us sat by the window. We always fought to sit by the window because then Dad couldn't see us cry.
I think there was a rule you don't lay on your bed during the day or anything like that. I think I might have been sitting on my bed or laying on it. I don't remember. Randy came by the room and said something about it, and I think I got an attitude with him. And he focused in on me reading my book. You're always got a book in your hand. You're always reading. You were out there reading at the deal when you should have been watching. And I think I might have said something to him. I remember getting basically thrown across my bed up against the wall, and he took my book.
Big U-shaped driveway. It was huge. I mean, it had to be 250 yards from the road, from the main road right there, and just this big driveway. And we would sit on the porch because Dad said he was going to be there at a certain time and to pick us up, and we'd go into Altus and other places and Mangum for the rattlesnake derby. Dad would take us to all these different places when he'd come to visit, and we were sitting there waiting for him and waiting for him and waiting for him. We started about 9 o'clock that morning, and by dark we knew he wasn't coming, and we sat there the whole time. We'd walk all the way down to the road and look just to see if we could see him coming. And those were disappointing times, And
we got the buddy that was in the house out by the pool had left one of the windows open. Chandelier, light fixtures broken. So deal dies down, close to my parents getting home, everybody leaves. No way I can hide any of this. Russ calls his mom, bolts, leaves Sean and I there holding the bag. And they got there, and I'm in my room, and Mom is in there just berating me. She's upset, I understand. But she goes, oh, and the house out there. This house was at one point set up just for like a big, massive playhouse for my sisters. And she goes, and they were out in the playhouse. Y'all were out in the playhouse. I go, well, a couple friends were, or whatever. And she goes, well, yeah, they left the window open. Why do they need to be out there? Are they a bunch of little pansies or something and have to go out there and play dress up or something? And I got offended. And I just blurted out because had always been on my mind. And I was like, you never let me. I mean, she hurt my feelings. She hurt my feelings because she's saying something about my friends. And I blurted out that she's never loved me. And the look on her face I'll never forget. It was like I dropped a car on her. I mean, it was like the last thing she ever wanted. And I knew as soon as I said it, I regretted it. Because over her shoulder, I see my dad, and he grits his teeth, and he's coming towards me, and I go, you know what? He is going to knock me out. Now, he's never punched me, he's never slapped me, he's never done anything like that. He's never been an abusive person by any means. He came in front of me, and I remember in my head going, he is going to knock the shit out of me, and I deserve it. And I didn't even put my hands up. And he hit me open-handed. But him hitting somebody open-handed is like getting hit by a Mack truck. And as soon as he did that, Mom told him to stop. Don't do that. And he quit immediately.
I remember when I was 16, I had a track meet that morning on a Saturday morning, and it was my birthday. It was my 16th birthday. And we had been planning this whole deal, me and Jason. We'd asked Dad, can we go to Brad's house? We're going to go out. We're going to go hang out with some friends. Dad was like, yes, but I need you to get your chores done. And the chores for that weekend was he was having I think it was 3 dump truck loads of dirt dumped in the yard. And we had a very large yard. And we had to rake the whole yard and put like a 2-inch layer of dirt all the way across the whole yard. So I went to my track meet, and it was in Mustang, so I had to run home, which was about 1.5 miles, which was fine, ran home, started on the chores, and we were just working really hard to get it done, and we were almost done, and my parents walked out of the house, and they were dressed to go to my sister's softball pizza party for the end of the year softball. And we asked, hey, Brad's going to be coming over here in a little bit. We're almost done. Can we go ahead and go with Brad tonight? And Dad goes, no, I think y'all need to stay home tonight.
I wasn't trusted. I got this. There was no warm home or welcome home. It was basically, you're lucky that we're taking you back kind of attitude. And that was pretty much the end at that point. I started hanging out with some people, and at one point was staying out all the time and not giving a crap about anything. And finally, I guess Dad just realized it wasn't going to work. And basically, I will tell you the feeling I had when we got kicked out was he got us in the truck and asked us where we wanted to be dropped off. Felt like an abandoned dog at that point. But knowing that I brought it on myself, I didn't meet them halfway. I didn't even, whether they met me halfway or not, I didn't do my part. But it was a defining moment, and I think our relationship definitely changed at that point.
Our dad dropped us off in the middle of Yukon and said, find a place to live. And we were stranded in front of this girl's apartment that your dad had dated, and we never really went back. We went back briefly for Christmas one year, and then that was it. That's when I walked out and said, this is not my family, really.
And where did you guys go for that?
We were homeless.
Really?
Yeah, we lived on the streets for a long time, for about probably 6 or 7 months.
You guys just like
slept in fields, and usually in fields we'd go camp. We'd basically start a fire and camp, and kind of sleeping people. Some people let us come stay the night every once in a while, and then winter time came around that year, and it was freezing. I remember it was a bad snowstorm. We found a barn and we tried to sleep in it, but it was just too cold. So we went and found a payphone and called Dad. They had moved to Piedmont by then. And we called Dad, and he said, I can't do anything for you tonight. You're just going to have to tough it out. So we went over to a friend's house, not far from that barn, and knocked on his window, and he gave us some blankets, and we slept in his car. And honestly, I did not think we were going to survive the night. We were that cold. Me and your dad were huddled up together, trying to stay warm. And
ended up putting our feet under each other, like cleaning in the back seat against the doors or whatever, and we'd put our feet under each other to keep them warm, and we finally fell asleep. And I remember waking up the next morning, and there was like a half an inch of ice from our breathing that had the whole inside of the car, all the windows, the ice was on the inside.
I stole food. I did anything and everything I could to just scrounge anything, There was a lot of just going into grocery stores and just grabbing food and doing anything you could. Friends would feed us. And the bad deal was we were still going to school. I would sleep in a field not far from the school, go over to a friend's house, take a shower, and then go to class.
I remember Sean got caught one time doing it. I think it was the Stakes. And they just nicely came up and told him they knew he had them and that he needed to put them back and leave. But it was just, it was, it was that a lot, it seemed. It was stealing food or just getting by. Mm-hmm. But the whole time I was thinking, I brought it on myself, it's my fault. Didn't see our parents for I don't know how long. Not until I met your mother did I even really, she kind of was the one that not forced it, but talked me into having some kind of relationship with them.
But you can be born into something, but when you've never been a part of it, you're just never a part of it, you know? Again, it goes back to you want to be a part of it at some point, but at some point you like, because look, I mean, first grade, I was in school in Texas, you know? That's not normal. You know, because my parents didn't want to take care of me or you know, had their hands full with my sister or whatever, you know. But then it just became a regular thing, you know. When I can walk into my grandmother's kitchen and grab something to eat when I'm hungry, that's home. When you live in a house where you can't go get something to eat when you're hungry, that's not your home. You know, that's just a place you live.
I know they loved us. I mean, I do. They wouldn't have put up with the hell that we were causing at those times, you know. If I was to change anything, and I've thought about it a lot, I wouldn't change how they treated me. I would change how I reacted and how I treated them, because I think it would have been better.
He said that he thinks if you guys had behaved better as kids, that you would have been treated a lot differently than you had. Do you feel that's true?
I agree to a point, but you have to be taught to behave better in a way. We were never really. It's not like we were getting in trouble all the time when we were younger. We, you know, at a young age, I think there was a lot of misinformation, misunderstandings. You know, like our mom said a few years ago, she thought we disliked her.
She said that to you?
Yeah.
When?
One day over at their house, she goes, "I thought y'all didn't like me." We were like, "No, we never thought that about you."
All right. So there was obviously a lot of miscommunication. You know, our I don't know. I mean, I always try to look at it from both sides, and I don't know so much as a kid, but you know, as a fourth, fifth, sixth grade, when you start kind of knowing right from wrong or whatever, I think maybe we could have done. You know, I had no will to work hard at school. I just, you know, and that was always a big issue, I think, too.
And it is an issue, but the issue is that's your parents' job. Kids are not just naturally good kids, you know. You have to have the structure. We never really had the structure.
Is there some regrets? Yeah. There's probably a lot of regrets, but I try not to think about them. And, you know, would I do anything different? I don't know. As far as an adult, I think it was probably a little too late. Damage was done.
About 6 months ago, 5 months ago, and I went for a walk with your dad. We had a big long walk and for a few nights while he was over here, and we discussed it. And I explained, I didn't talk about how mom and dad were. I talked about how parents should be. You know, the little things that parents should do. And then he kind of started seeing it. He goes, "You're right. I see it differently when you explain it that way." Like the things we didn't learn how to function as an adult. Because there's certain things your parents teach you to help you, you know, become an adult.
Yeah.
They teach you how to you know, be responsible for a bank account, or they teach you how to, you know, one of them that really struck me funny is your dad should teach you how to shave. You know, that's something a father should teach you. Nobody ever helped me with homework. Nobody ever did all these little things, you know, that you're supposed to do or should do. And once I explained it to your dad, he got that, but he still has his own issues with it. I've come to terms with most of it because I went to therapy for 3 years.
From your aunt, one of your aunts, I won't say which one, looking for Josh. it was Christmas Eve or something like that, and got a call from her looking for Josh, and I told her I'd just seen he'd be back in a little bit or something. He was at my house, and she said, "Okay, can you please let him know that we're having a family get together over here, and we need him over here to open presents?" I was like, "Okay, yeah, no problem." But it was, there was this whole, wow, you just called one of your brothers to tell your other brother that there's a family get together at Christmas time and he needed to get over there. With it just, made no sense. It was like, wow, you didn't even think to, like, no acknowledgement that I was part of that family. I'm going to see a therapist finally after his divorce. Really helped him out a lot. And I've taken some things from that recently and came to the realization that that the relationship I had with my parents wasn't, or the rationale that I had about our relationship wasn't actually true.